All right, so get ready because we're really going to dig into addiction today.
Yeah. We got some really interesting stuff to go through today.
And it looks like we're going way beyond just the typical, just say no kind of narrative.
Right.
And get this. What if addiction isn't just about willpower, but about what's actually happening in your gut?
Yeah, it's really a fascinating new frontier.
Really?
Yeah. And so we have this article, Breaking Free, by Joseph Aminian.
Yep.
And he's making a pretty bold claim that addiction could actually be a form of self-medication for some deeper issues that people might be having.
Okay.
And a lot of those issues, he thinks, might stem from our gut health.
Okay, so tell me more about this gut connection.
Yeah.
I've heard of the gut-brain axis.
Right.
But it always seemed kind of vague to me.
Well, it's more concrete than you might think.
Okay.
Aminian cites a ton of research here.
Okay.
And it turns out the gut-brain axis involves this super intricate network of communication. We're talking the vagus nerve, the immune system hormones.
Wow.
It's like a whole hidden world down there influencing how we feel and even how we make decisions.
So it's not just like butterflies in your stomach kind of stuff.
Right.
We're talking about actual measurable impacts.
Absolutely measurable impacts on the brain.
Wow.
Yeah. So Aminian points to studies showing that when your gut's out of whack, it throws off the balance of bacteria that are living there. That's called dysbiosis.
Dysbiosis.
And get this. Dysbiosis can actually lead to something called leaky gut.
Okay, now you have to explain leaky gut because that sounds kind of scary.
Okay, so leaky gut.
Yeah.
It's not as dramatic as it sounds.
Okay.
But it's definitely not good.
Right.
Basically, the lining of your intestines gets compromised, and it's like these tiny little holes appear, letting things that should stay in your gut leak out into your bloodstream.
Okay.
So we're talking bacteria, toxins, all sorts of stuff that your body really wants to keep contained.
Ew. Okay, that's definitely not good.
No.
But how does that connect back to addiction?
Okay, so here's where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
So Aminian highlights research showing that leaky gut triggers systemic inflammation. So it's like your whole body is on high alert, constantly fighting off these invaders from your gut.
Right.
And this chronic inflammation can really mess with your brain's reward center.
Wow.
Making you crave things that offer temporary relief.
Oh, okay.
Even if they're ultimately harmful.
So it's not just about weak willpower.
Right.
If your gut is inflamed, your brain is basically like, give me something to soothe this discomfort.
Exactly. Yeah. And what do we often turn to when we're stressed or in pain?
Yeah.
Things like alcohol, drugs, even excessive sugar.
Right.
But here's the kicker. These substances further damage the gut, creating a vicious cycle.
So it's like a double whammy.
Yeah.
You're trying to self-medicate, but the medication is making the underlying problem worse. But hold on. Are you saying that everyone with gut issues is going to develop an addiction?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And it's important to note that Aminian isn't saying that.
Really?
What he is arguing is that gut health plays a significant role in how susceptible we are to addiction. So think of it like this. If your gut is healthy and balanced, your brain is getting all the right signals, making it easier to resist those unhealthy cravings.
Okay.
But if your gut is inflamed and unhappy, it's like those cravings are amplified, making it much harder to say no.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's like having a strong foundation versus a shaky one.
Right.
If your gut is your foundation, then a healthy gut makes you more resilient.
Exactly. And Aminian isn't just relying on his own theories here. He's pulling from a ton of scientific research, including studies published in legit journals like the Journal of Neuroimmune Pharmacology. They're finding that modern lifestyles, with all the processed food and overuse of antibiotics, are really messing with our gut health.
So are you saying that our gut bacteria could actually be influencing how our brains respond to drugs?
That's exactly what the research is suggesting.
Wow.
And this is where things get really exciting.
Okay.
Because it opens the door for a totally new way of thinking about addiction treatment.
Okay, I'm on the edge of my seat here.
Yeah.
What kind of new approaches are we talking about?
Well, think about it. If we can identify the specific imbalances in somebody's gut microbiome, we could potentially tailor treatments to address those imbalances.
So like personalized medicine.
Exactly.
But for addiction.
It's like personalized medicine, but for addiction.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So instead of a one-size-fits-all approach, we could be looking at probiotics, dietary changes,
Right.
maybe even fecal transplants to kind of restore a healthy gut ecosystem.
You got it. And Aminian points to some really interesting research on this. For example, studies have shown that giving rats with alcohol dependence a specific probiotic actually reduced their alcohol consumption.
No way. So those tiny little microbes can actually influence big behaviors like alcohol cravings.
It seems so, and there's similar research with humans.
Okay.
A study published in the journal PLOS-1 found that certain gut bacteria were linked to increased cravings and relapse rates in people recovering from alcohol use disorder.
That's incredible. So by understanding which bacteria are playing a role,
Right.
we could potentially target those bacteria and reduce the risk of relapse.
Exactly.
But what about other types of addiction? Does this gut connection apply to things like cocaine or opioids as well?
Yeah, the research is still emerging,
Okay.
but it's looking promising.
Okay.
For example, studies have found that people with opioid addiction tend to have lower levels of a certain type of bacteria
Okay.
called Faecalibacterium prausnitzii.
Okay, now that's a mouthful. What's so special about this Faecalibacterium bacteria?
Well, it's known to produce a short-chain fatty acid called butyrate, which is super important for both gut and brain health.
Okay.
Butyrate helps maintain the integrity of the gut lining. It reduces inflammation, and it even influences neurotransmitter production in the brain.
Wow, so having enough of those good bacteria could actually help protect against the damage caused by opioids.
Exactly.
That's a game changer.
It is, and it really highlights the importance of taking a holistic approach to addiction.
Right.
It's not just about addressing the substance use itself,
Okay.
but also about addressing the underlying gut health issues that may be contributing to the addiction.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about the science.
We have.
But what does this mean for someone who's actually struggling with addiction?
Right.
What can they do to start nurturing their gut health and break free from this cycle?
Well, Aminian suggests several practical strategies, and they're all rooted in this idea of holistic health.
Okay.
One of the biggest things is diet. He emphasizes reducing processed foods and incorporating more fiber-rich vegetables and fermented foods, which are great for promoting a healthy gut microbiome.
So things like sauerkraut, kimchi, kombucha, all that good stuff.
Exactly. They're teeming with beneficial bacteria that can help crowd out the harmful ones.
And guess what? Even the U.S. Army is recognizing the importance of gut health.
I know, right?
Especially for soldiers who are constantly exposed to high levels of stress.
It's absolutely.
They've got this whole research initiative going on called the Tri-Service Microbiome Consortium, specifically focused on how gut health impacts soldier performance and resilience.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Wait, the Army is studying sauerkraut.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I never would have guessed that the military would be so invested in gut health.
Right. It just goes to show that this understanding of the gut-brain connection is really starting to permeate all sorts of fields.
Yeah.
And the military's interest in it speaks volumes about the potential impact of gut health on overall well-being, even in the most demanding environments.
That's fascinating. Okay, so we've got diet, but what else can people do to improve their gut health?
Well, Aminian also talks about the importance of mindfulness, both in terms of eating and in terms of our overall mental and emotional state. He suggests practicing gratitude for our nourishment, really savoring our food, and paying attention to how different foods make us feel.
So it's not just about what we eat, but how we eat.
Exactly. It's about cultivating a more mindful and appreciative relationship with food. And beyond that, he talks about practices like meditation and yoga, which can help reduce stress and improve overall well-being, which in turn can benefit gut health.
It's all connected, isn't it?
It is.
Our gut, our brain, our emotions, our overall health.
Absolutely. And this is where Aminian's concept of interoception comes in.
Interoception, remind me what that is again.
Sure. So interoception is essentially the ability to tune in to your body's internal signals. It's about being aware of your heartbeat, your breath, those subtle sensations in your gut. And Aminian argues that by practicing interoception, we can start to recognize when something's off and make healthier choices.
That makes sense. If you're not aware of those signals, you might miss the cues that your body is stressed or that your gut is unhappy.
Exactly.
And then you might reach for those unhealthy coping mechanisms. But I have to admit, I struggle with interoception. I'm more of a push through it kind of person. Any tips for those of us who are a little less in tune with our bodies?
Well, mindfulness practices like meditation can be really helpful for developing interoception. It's about quieting the mind and really paying attention to those subtle sensations in the body.
So it's like training yourself to become more aware of what's going on internally.
Exactly. And it takes practice.
Yeah.
But it can be incredibly rewarding. The more you pay attention to your body's signals, the better you'll be at understanding its needs and responding in a way that supports your overall well-being.
Okay, I'm starting to see how all these pieces fit together.
Yeah.
But what about exercise? Does that play a role in gut health too?
Absolutely. Eminian cites research showing that regular exercise, especially aerobic exercise, can actually improve the diversity and abundance of beneficial bacteria in our gut.
So it's not just good for our heart and lungs.
Right.
It's good for our gut too.
Right. And it makes sense when you think about it.
Yeah.
Exercise helps reduce stress, improves circulation, and even strengthens the muscles in our digestive system. It's all part of that holistic picture.
And that brings us back to Eminian's emphasis on holistic health, doesn't it?
Yes.
It's about taking care of all aspects of our well-being, recognizing that everything is interconnected.
It is.
Right. Eminian talks a lot about the importance of communication.
Yes.
Both with ourselves and with others.
Right.
He seems to believe that how we talk to ourselves and how we connect with others can have a profound impact on our overall well-being.
It can.
But how does that tie back into addiction?
Well, he argues that by learning to communicate more authentically, both internally and externally, we can start to break down those walls of isolation and shame that often surround addiction.
So it's about creating a space for vulnerability, for honesty, for connection.
Exactly. And that can be incredibly healing.
You know, one thing that really stood out to me from Eminian's article is his emphasis on self-compassion.
Yeah.
He reminds us that healing from addiction is a journey, not a destination.
Right.
And it requires us to be kind to ourselves, to acknowledge our struggles and to celebrate our progress along the way.
I love that too. It's so important to remember that we're all human.
Yeah.
That we all make mistakes.
Right.
And that it's never too late to start making healthier choices.
It's about giving ourselves grace, right?
Yes.
And recognizing that every step forward, no matter how small, is a victory.
Absolutely. And it's about shifting our focus from self-criticism to self-care.
I think that's a beautiful way to frame it. So we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
From leaky gut to Faecalibacterium prausnitzii to the Army's fascination with sauerkraut.
That's right.
But what I'm really taking away from this is that there's so much more to addiction than meets the eye.
Absolutely.
It's not just about willpower.
Right.
It's about understanding the complex interplay between our gut, our brain, our emotions, and our environment.
I completely agree. And what's so exciting is that this new understanding opens up a world of possibilities for prevention and treatment.
Right. It's not a hopeless situation.
No.
There are things we can do to support our gut health.
Yeah.
Which in turn can help us break free from the cycle of addiction.
Absolutely. And those things don't have to be drastic or overwhelming. Even small changes, like incorporating more fermented foods into our diet or taking a few minutes each day to practice mindfulness can make a big difference over time.
That's really empowering. So where do we go from here?
Yeah.
What's the next step for someone who wants to delve deeper into this whole gut health connection?
Well, I think Eminian does a great job of laying out some practical steps in his article.
Yeah.
He talks about the importance of mindful eating,
right,
incorporating gut-healthy foods, and connecting with a higher purpose. You know, it's about nurturing our bodies, our minds, and our spirits.
And it's about remembering that we have more control over our health and well-being than we may realize.
Absolutely.
We have that power within us to break free from this cycle of addiction.
Yeah.
And create a life filled with clarity, focus, and even as Eminian puts it, prosperity.
I love that.
It's so easy to feel helpless when facing addiction, whether it's our own or someone we care about.
Right.
But this idea that we can actually take concrete steps to heal our gut and in turn heal our minds and even rewire our brains, that's incredibly hopeful.
Absolutely. Eminian's message is all about empowerment. He's saying, hey, you've got this incredible potential.
Right.
Don't let it be stifled by addiction or self-numbing behaviors. You know, tap into that inner strength and create a life that truly aligns with your values.
Yeah.
And he backs it up with scientific evidence, which makes it even more compelling.
It's like he's bridging the gap between ancient wisdom and modern science.
Yeah.
He's showing us that there's a path forward, a path to healing and wholeness.
And I think that's a message we all need to hear, whether we're struggling with addiction or simply looking for ways to improve our overall well-being.
So to wrap things up, what does this all mean for our listener? What's the one key takeaway they should walk away with?
I think the biggest takeaway is that there's more to addiction than meets the eye.
Yeah.
It's not just a matter of willpower.
Right.
It's about understanding the intricate connection between our gut and our brain.
And realizing that we have the power to influence that connection.
Yes.
Through the choices we make every day.
Exactly, by taking care of our gut health. We're investing in our overall well-being.
Yeah.
And that includes our mental and emotional resilience.
So if you're struggling with addiction, or even just feeling out of balance, remember this. You are not alone.
Yeah.
And there's hope.
Absolutely.
Start by tuning into your body, nurturing your gut health.
Right.
And embracing those small daily practices that nourish your mind and spirit.
Those small steps can lead to incredible transformations.
And who knows, maybe a little more sauerkraut in your life is all it takes to start feeling better.
Hey, it's worth a try.
Thanks for taking this deep dive with us. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep nurturing that amazing connection between your gut and your brain. It's a powerful thing.